in Garnet Valley. During our meeting, we outlined the multitude of environmental, economic, infrastructure, and jurisdictional concerns and relayed the anger in the community. We were surprised to learn the ministry had limited ability to pull a permit once it had been issued, even when we were able to demonstrate significant errors. While they said they cannot cancel the permit, the ministry officials did say they could potentially add further conditions and they would go back and look at the decision. We have formally requested that the following conditions be added prior to any work commencing: the completion of a geotechnical study, the completion of a hydrological study, the completion of a full archaeological impact assessment and traditional ecological knowledge assessment, a public information session hosted by the proponent, an increase in the reclamation liability to $100,000. We made it clear to the ministry that we believe these conditions must be in place before any gravel extraction can take place, and that regardless, we remain completely opposed to the project and reserve the right to challenge the decision using any legal means necessary. On October 1st, CAO Stat and I met with Chief Gabriel and representatives of the Penticton Indian Band about the gravel pit. And that evening, I and several councillors and myself attended the community meeting organized by the Garnet Valley Agritourism Association, the Summerland Sportsmen's Association, and others. We continue to coordinate efforts and work with all interested parties, and it is encouraging to see that the gravel pit has become a provincial election issue. On October 3rd, I attended the regular board meeting of the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, where directors supported revisions to the elected officials' code of conduct after having spent $12,000 in legal fees over the past year to deal with code of conduct complaints. The revised code removes the role of an adjudicator from the investigation and resolution process and incorporates their responsibilities into the role of the solicitor. There is also a greater obligation to try to resolve complaints prior to engaging the solicitor. The new code also provides guidance for local elected officials running for provincial or federal office and when they should seek a leave of absence from their board or council. The code applies to the RDUS, Village of Karamesis, Town of Osoyoos, Town of Princeton, and City of Penticton. Summerland and Oliver have their own code of conducts. However, it's always an option for us to use the regional one instead. Finally, this morning, I was joined by Deputy Mayor Traynor and Councillor Peake at the Summerland Middle School to help out with the student vote that Ms. Thorpe organizes not only during provincial elections, but also for municipal and federal elections. The grade 6s and 7s all voted at the school, and it was a great way to introduce them to the whole electoral process and establish good voting habits at a young age. And I think the idea, this is all organized by Elections BC. And so I think the idea is that, you know, they get used to voting, and eventually as they get voting age, that it becomes a habit, and it's to address, you know, voter apathy and declining vote. So it was really encouraging to be part of that and to help out. And with that, I'll conclude that with a reminder that we should all get out to vote in the provincial election if we haven't done so already. Advanced polls are open today and tomorrow at St. Stephen Anglican Church, and general voting is Saturday with polls at the Anglican Church, Middle School, Trail Creek Elementary, and Waterfront Resort. I'll now ask the CEO for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I hope everyone had a restful and enjoyable break for Thanksgiving. For those residents who may have been away for the break, just a reminder that starting today, irrigation services are being turned off. Already we have seen frost in parts of the district, and whether we like it or not, the cold temperatures are fast approaching. So we need to get these water services shut down for the year. Since April to the end of August, an estimated 230 tons of food scraps have been diverted from garbage into composting. This is over a 30% drop in the amount of garbage Summerland residents put out to the curb. Estimated net savings comparing to landfilling have been over $15,000 in 5 months, with the potential offset of over 400 tons of CO2 equivalent. However, we have had some issues with some items being diverted to the green cart, which should not be there. Just a reminder that compostable plastics are not allowed to be composted in British Columbia, so please never use plastic bags of any kind. Also, please don't put away or throw away cups in that container or food containers, as oftentimes those types of materials are coated with things that are not suitable for composting. Lumber and treated wood cannot be put in the yard waste either, and this needs to be disposed of at the landfill correctly. Finally, with construction beginning on the Prairie Valley Road rebuild, there has been some dust resulting from gravel trucks and equipment moving material. We are aware of those issues and have been making sure that water is put down from time to time, as well as some street sweeping in key areas to remove or reduce the dust where we can. Residents are also encouraged to use the bypass that we have set up onto Dale Meadows Road wherever possible, even during times when the Prairie Valley Road is open, just to keep the dust down. We thank everyone for cooperating with us during this important project, and a big thank you for the patience of those property owners most directly impacted by dust and noise during this time. That's my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council, any questions for either of us? Councillor Trainer?
CAO, I just wanted to know if we could, I'm sure we already have, but if we could put another note in our newsletter about the plastics in the compost, because right now when you go to the grocery store and buy, like, for example, Glad, they say compostable bags suitable for municipal yard waste. It says it right on the box, and that's not true. So I've had people that I know buy those bags thinking that they're doing the right thing, and they don't work. So I think that continually reminding people that it's the paper bags that we need is really important. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll move on to, there's no delegations this morning. We have a couple this evening, so we'll move on to the public comment period. And we have Robert Hacking registered, so please come up, Mr. Hacking.
Thank you. Robert Hacking, 7720 Prairie Valley Road, Summerland Dog Owners Association. Going to speak towards item 18.1, which is on this evening's development reports. Thank you, Council, for your continued support for the legitimate and real recreational needs of Summerland's many dog owners. I appreciate the discussion around relocating the dog beach, and has brought up some unique benefits, but also some challenges. The idea is worth exploring, but equitable and fair consideration for the needs of the users of the dog beach seem to be an afterthought. Will the trade of locations be fair and equitable to what dog owners have in the existing dog beach? What voice do dog owners currently have in the discussion of the removal of their amenity? My observations show great potential and synergy with having the dog beach adjacent to the dog park. But in conversation with dog park users, I'm hearing more than a few concerns and some understandable skepticism with the idea. The option 3 presented in your report tonight also sneaks in a substantial reduction in the size of the dog park field, which I find surprising, as it was the wish of council to maintain the existing dog park field at its 1 acre, not close a well-used dog beach and erode away the usable footprint of the field. This is not fair to these recreational users, and to be honest, it feels kind of sneaky and deceptive. I ask for council to be reflective and considerate of the many dog owners who use and enjoy the beach area before any decision is made to displace them. How our recreational group is treated matters, and we notice. There are other improvements to be done to the park, and some are very important. But to be honest, there are questions for next budget year, next budget, next year. This year is about getting a fence and gates installed, and is what council has resolved to do. after all. Option 1 is a practical design, and I support the staff recommendation and look forward to it getting started. I thank council for their support of the recreational needs of dog owners, and we all really appreciate the efforts you are making to have this park become a reality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see anybody else. So we'll move on to our business items. The 4-day compressed work week and Manager of Human Resources, please.
Okay. So thank you. The 4-day compressed work week. So we've done an 18-month trial, 4-day compressed work week that's proven to work out well for both customers and staff. And the district is especially proud of the fact that we've been able to implement this without increasing any costs to the organization. And I know that was one of council's key priorities. So we're very proud of that. Customer comments are generally positive in that they enjoy the extended hours on both ends of the day, the morning and the evening from Tuesday to Friday. Customer visits have increased since the beginning of the trial in July 2023. And customer visits, which I've outlined on attachment 1, I just want to bring to your attention, that's just the people that are walking in. So there's many more using the extended hours with email or phone calls that they're phoning in and getting inquiries answered. As for staff retention, it's better than our 2022 year prior to implementing the trial work week in 2023. However, we are starting to see the turnover ratio increase, and that is on the 3rd attachment that I've put that in. The turnover ratio increase, I think it's being experienced industry-wide. So that's due to a multitude of reasons, but that said, the compressed work week keeps us competitive with the industry from a time sense. Other organizations offer flexible work weeks, earned days off, and even more costly 4-day work week programs. And definitely it's been a strong retention tool for the staff here. So district staff is now recommending the ongoing continuation of the 4-day compressed work week for Municipal Hall and the Aquatic Center office staff, along with the ability to expand it to other areas in the organization. The expansion to other departments would likely be a different model to ensure it meets the needs of the customer. For example, there's not likely going to be Monday closures if there's operational needs. So we're going to need to work with each department and determine a model that doesn't increase costs. So I'm happy to answer any questions on staff's recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Or the report.
Council, any questions? Councilor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. Marnie, thank you. That was great. I'm glad you said no cost, because the staff report does say minimal additional costs, which I'm a true believer of no cost. And I'm glad that you brought up that the 4-day work week may not work for all departments being closing right down. So you and I have had this discussion on many occasions. And so I want to thank you for bringing this forward.
Councilor Manel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question on the Aquatic Center. That was an afterthought, correct?
The trial work week started from Municipal Hall on, I think it was July 1st in and around 2023. And in January 2024, the Aquatic Center office staff only went to the compressed work week. Obviously, it doesn't work for lifeguards and guarding the pool.
But so there is a person on Mondays, a clerical person, if I'm not mistaken. So they're working the extended hours also?
No, we have some positions that are still working 5 days a week to serve the customer better. So over there, we do a 5-day coverage from Monday to Friday for the reception position in the office. So it did not go to the 4-day compressed work week.
But the ones at the Aquatic Center that are on the 4-day work week are working longer hours?
Yes, yes, they are.
Thank you.
Sorry, maybe I misunderstood. Okay.
No, probably.
Okay, don't see any other questions. So we want to bring motion forward. There's the recommended motions on the screen. Counselor Turner?
Yeah, I'll bring it forward.
Okay, seconder, Counselor Van Elfen. Any further discussion? Counselor Patton?
Thank you, Worship. So when, for the second part of the motion, will that be coming to us again to tell us what the plan is, or is it just going to be the CAO?
I think that would be council's choice. We're going to follow the same, like I said, same parameters. We want to do this at no cost. We're very proud that we've done that. And I think the model will just look different. Generally speaking, you know, our fire, our water, our wastewater, there's a lot of our buildings and facilities that already work 410s or a 7-day shift, depending on coverage and so forth. So we're really only talking about our works and infrastructure and our parks crew. And obviously they have to clear snow, they need to have irrigation going, they need things going for parks. So we have to meet with each of those departments, find out, one, if there's an interest, because in some cases there may not be, and find out, two, if there is an interest, is there a model that would work, that they could do coverage for however many days a week and have people take off every second Monday or every second Friday. So the intent would be just to work with the departments and go forward, unless council wanted us to bring it back, and then we could.
My reading of the motion is that so long as it meets the needs of the customer and operational requirements, the CAO has the green light to go ahead with it without coming back to council. That's certainly my reading of that motion. So we're clear? Yeah, okay. No further comments. Counselor Betts, you're very small. So if I miss you, and just shout out, okay? Okay. So I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed? That carries. Moving on to the next item, council remuneration review. I can't pronounce that word. 9.2. That would be a corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So before council is the independent report containing advice, reasonings, and recommendations from the Council Remuneration Task Force regarding council's remuneration. So as you will recall, the Council Remuneration Task Force convened in 2022 in accordance with the Council Remuneration Policy 100.17 to provide advice on council remuneration at that time. Part of the task force's recommendation was that the committee was to reconvene again in 18 months to further review remuneration against inflationary pressures. Council at the time accepted this recommendation. The task force reconvened in August of this year and were tasked to consider, inquire into, report, and make an independent recommendation to council regarding remuneration, including any CPI adjustments against inflationary implications and the approaches taken by other municipalities in their intervening period. The scope of this review was to conduct research, review existing bylaws, policies, and practices of the district in Summerland and the comparator municipalities in BC. The council remuneration report, it's attachment 1 in the agenda package, outlines the methodology and the task force that the task force used to provide their recommendations. The task force recognizes that it is imperative to have fair compensation for those who run for office, and that remuneration must be fair and compensated appropriately for the time commitment required in serving the community. The task force determined that council remuneration was not aligned with the current medians of the comparable municipalities. And in order to become aligned, as well as considering what is fair for both mayor and council and the Summerland taxpayers, the task force ultimately recommended that the annual British Columbia All Items Consumer Price Index, the CPI increase for mayor and council remuneration, be reinstated beginning in 2025, and that mayor and council remuneration be increased by an additional 10% beginning 2025 to begin efforts to align remuneration with the current market median of mayor and council remuneration of comparable municipalities. And further, that mayor and council remuneration be increased by 2% in addition to the CPI increase for the years 2026, 2027, and 2028 in effort to align remuneration with the current market median of mayor and council remuneration of comparable municipalities. The task force additionally recommended that policy 100.17 be amended to state, should the combination of the annual CPI adjustment and the 2% increase for the years 2026, 2027, and 2028 net below zero, there will be no adjustment for remuneration that year. So the financial impact for 2025 of these recommendations from the task force are as follows. So by increasing council remuneration by the CPI, which is we estimated at 3% currently, and increasing council remuneration by 10% from the current amount would result in a total increase for both mayor and council remuneration of $19,097.78. This would increase the mayor's remuneration from $39,704 to $44,865.52, and for council from $17,867 to $20,189.71. The task force members hope to be in attendance today, but were unable to do so due to competing priorities. However, the members did provide remarks they would like shared with council regarding their recommendations and report. So the chair of the task force said, "Thank you for the opportunity to chair the council remuneration task force and providing independent recommendations to the mayor and council regarding the council's remuneration, including CPI adjustments. The District of Summerland staff did an excellent job in providing the council remuneration task force with all the necessary information the task force asked for in order to set in place the results of its decision in the council recommendation report. The council remuneration task force felt strongly that the District of Summerland's mayor and council remunerations are well below the median, and that taking steps to increase remunerations and continue to follow the CPI will benefit the municipality in the future. Hopefully, the committee's report will give mayor and council the direction they need to make an informed decision." And then they apologize for not being able. And one of the members stated that my perspectives are captured well within our report to council. I would only add that it was a clear, comprehensive process and that staff were very responsive and helpful in accommodating committee requests for research and information. The goal of our task force was to take a fair and balanced approach, and I feel those objectives were achieved. And with that, Amanda and I are both here to answer any questions council may have, and the resolution is on the screen.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Van Alphen?
I'll move it.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Peak, any discussion? Councillor Trainer?
So I'm not going to support this as written. I agree with some of it. I agree with matching the CPI. But I think the 10% is something that I would support beginning in 2026, after the next election cycle. So I think that would be, I guess, 2027, because our next election's in 2026. I personally find it awkward voting for a raise for myself. That's just how I feel. I do think that Summerland's wages do need to be adjusted and that we should be in line with other communities our size. I really wish that the province would actually set our wages for us so that it didn't put city councillors and mayors in awkward positions around the province having to deal with this and then the fallout that we get from it. But I know in Summerland, we cover our own cell phones, and the cost of my cell phone bill keeps going up. Rogers keeps raising it. And I use my phone for council business. So I do think we need this, and that's why I agree with the CPI. But I just feel more comfortable giving a raise and it coming into effect with the next council. So that's why I will not be supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I'm zooming in from Ontario. Thank you for taking my comment here today. I appreciate what Deputy Mayor Trainer was getting at. I think, though, that the independent committee members had, a lot of really impartial things to say, which are really important. But what I wanted to add to this discussion is actually I have a question for our Director of Human Resources. And my question is surrounding benefits, actually. And I'm wondering if all other District of Summerland employees receive fully funded or 100% funded health benefits.
Councillor Betts, can you define health benefits? Are you talking extended health, like vision and prescriptions and stuff like that?
Yes, exactly.
So there's two parts to a benefit package. One is the premium that the employer or the employee pay or they share. And then a second part is what's covered. So on the first point, no, it isn't 100% covered for all people from the premium side. Some are a 50-50 split, some are 100%. We have 4 different benefit groups. We have exempt, IBW, QP, and elected officials. And from the coverage side, every benefit is different. So prescription drugs could be 90% and vision could be 90% for the first $200. And so every single benefit, physio, chiropractor, they're all different. So it's a really hard question to answer.
Well, may I follow up? Well, so as a follow-up question to that, so currently the way that the remuneration package works is that elected officials in the District of Summerland pay 50% of their for the employee part of the package. And so I'm interested to know what other employees of the District of Summerland, if there are other employees who receive benefits as, for their service to our community and to receive health benefits that are paid for in terms of what, not what you receive, but how the employer and employee relationship works.
The premium cost. Let me check for you. I got my computer here. I'll check and get back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank the people that were on the committee and the staff work that was done because I think it was excellent. I believe there was a lot of work done and I think that they've brought in the options that are available for us to examine in terms of what the increase could be. I would like to speak to what my fellow councillor and Deputy Mayor Aaron Trainer said, that there is always some awkwardness in terms of making a decision that may be implemented in the time you sit at council. But having sat on councils for almost 25 years, I think that it is important to be fairly compensated for the work that we do. And not just in our own municipality, but elsewhere across Canada, there have been lower pay scales and that everyone is coming to a point where they realize that the work is done needs to be compensated in order to get good people into the offices. So if we're going to continue to have a mixed colleagues at the table, that is age brackets and work backgrounds and experience, I think those things are really important. And therefore I will be supporting this increase. I don't think it's more than what should be happening for a council. It doesn't matter that I happen to be on this council. I think this is a fair recommendation brought by outside source and researched quite well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll note that the task force in its report notes that that setting one's own rate of compensation is difficult and that they appreciate the approach of having an outside review. It has been discussed at UBCM quite a bit about the province setting the rates and not leaving it to each individual council, but that hasn't gone anywhere. And the UBCM does have guidelines, and I note the task force did follow those guidelines. I tend to, we have these task force to take it out of our hands. And so, we take it out of their hands and we don't know what they're going to come back with. And this is what they came back with. So, anybody else? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Well, but
Councillor Betts. Oh, you're still waiting for the answer?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Councillor Betts?
Yes.
Does the answer to your question, will that influence your vote on this? Could it be potentially a separate motion?
Yes and yes, both. Or sorry, good question. I'm willing to vote on this motion as it stands, but could I then make a secondary motion once we receive that other information then? Rather than
Yeah.
amending this one?
Yeah, or a notice of motion may be better. So that to give staff time to prepare.
Okay, whatever you think
Okay.
best.
Marty, you can answer now? Okay.
So the answer to the question is all benefit groups, the premium for extended health is 100% paid with the exception of the elected officials, which is 50-50 on the premium.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yep, go ahead.
So I don't know if it's best if I'm allowed to make an amendment or a notice of motion, but I would move that we then add or amend that we make for all elected officials to receive 100% benefits in line with other District of Summerland employees.
Okay, I would suggest that's a separate motion altogether.
Okay.
And why don't we just deal with what's on the floor right now, and then we'll come back
Sure.
to you. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Trainer is opposed. Now, for the second one, would that be better as a notice of motion? Because it's kind of different, eh? We might need some staff input on that, CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we'd certainly appreciate a bit of time to do some analysis and provide council with advice on that, if that's possible.
Okay, so Councillor Bett, are you going to be here this evening?
No, I am not going to be able to be here later on.
Okay, can she make a notice of motion now or? Okay, well, we've kind of had notice, so you could even bring it to the next meeting and waive notice. We can waive the 2 week or the next meeting thing at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
So I'll leave, Councillor Betts, I'll leave that for you to liaison with the CAO about that in the meantime.
Sure,
Yeah?
thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Malcolm?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So clarity wise, maybe the CEO could answer or HR or Director of Finance, but so right now it's 50-50 for an elected official. The district would pay 50%, I would pay 50%. Am I not under the impression then with staff, it's 50% employer, 50% union that's paying their, no?
There is some complexity to this, so I think that's why we'd appreciate the time to bring back some information on through the
Thank you.
notice of motion process.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thanks. We'll move on to 10.1, bylaws for adoption, permissive tax exemption for the rodeo grounds. You want to bring that forward? Councillor Trainer, second. Councillor Peak, we've already debated this, so I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? None opposed, that carries. If I get a resolution to close the meeting pursuant to sections 91C of the community charter regarding labor relations. Sorry, no? Councillor Peak, second, Councillor Van Elfen, and all in favor. And that carries. We'll take we don't really need a break. We're just